Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. While Triple H currently leads the creative process in WWE as the Chief Content Officer, his wife, Stephanie McMahon, has made several appearances lately, including at WrestleMania 41. A wrestling veteran recently suggested the company could cut ties with the game and the billion-dollar princess for a significant reason. On a recent episode of The Coach and Bro Show, former WWE head writer Vince Russo and ex-interim Raw general manager Jonathan Coachman discussed Triple H's future. They predicted that The Rock and TKO plan to remove the game from the Stanford-based company, speculating that the chief content officer and the final boss do not get along. Meanwhile, Russo pointed out that there is another reason that is often overlooked, which could lead TKO to cut ties with the chief content officer and his wife. The former head writer mentioned that Vince McMahon, Triple H's father-in-law, still faces multiple lawsuits. He claimed the company would want to end all relationships with the game and Stephanie if the former chairman was found guilty or other legal issues related to him came to the surface. The 64-year-old stated that people would always think of Vince McMahon whenever they see Triple H or Stephanie due to their family relationship. Although everyone seems to avoid mentioning Vince McMahon's name in WWE at the current time, Triple H broke that apparent rule in his Hall of Fame speech. The game thanked his father-in-law for contributing to his legendary career. He also expressed his love for the former chairman. On the WrestleMania 41 post-show, the game explained his decision to mention McMahon in his speech as he talked to Sportskeeda Wrestling's Bill Apter. Triple H was not the only one who recently voiced his love for Vince McMahon. The newly crowned undisputed WWE champion John Cena also did the same in an interview with the New York Times nearly a week ago. Ahmed Hamdi is an Egyptian journalist with a decade of experience in sports journalism, specializing in pro wrestling and football. Hamdi kicked off his career as a sports reporter for Al Aram Weekly. He then became a producer/reporter for Mal Masr TV programming on the Egyptian channel on TV. In the following years, Hamdi worked as a reporter for several international news outlets, including Deutsche Welle Germany, as Safar Lebanon, and Al Monitor USA. In 2014, Hamdi joined leading Egyptian newspaper Al Masri Al Yum, where he is now a senior sports editor. In addition to all that, the Egyptian also worked as a sports editor for Sport 360 and feature writer for Mansour.com. Hamdi has covered several sports events throughout the past few years, including WWE's tour in Egypt and the 2019 African Cup of Nations. The experienced journalist joined Sportskeeda's pro wrestling feature writers team in early 2021. Since then, his work has managed to get millions of reads. In a bombshell revelation that's shaking the very foundations of professional wrestling, a respected veteran insider has suggested that WWE may eventually be forced to cut ties with Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, not due to creative differences or corporate politics, but because of one very real, very personal reason. The name Triple H Paul Levesque is practically stitched into the fabric of WWE's modern history. As the game, he helped define the Attitude Era, ruthless aggression, and beyond. Behind the scenes, Triple H crafted the beloved black and gold era of NXT, developing the next generation of superstars. Meanwhile, Stephanie McMahon, the billion-dollar princess turned business powerhouse, helped transform WWE into a global multimedia juggernaut. Yet according to WWE Hall of Famer and backstage veteran Dutch Mantel aka Zeb Coulter during a fiery podcast appearance, the company's future could force it to sever ties with its most iconic power couple. The reason? The impending full corporate transformation of WWE into a sports entertainment conglomerate, one that may no longer have room for the McMahon legacy at all. Speaking on the Wrestling Roots podcast, Mantel didn't mince words. "Look," he said, adjusting his cowboy hat, "WWE isn't a family business anymore. It's corporate. It's boardrooms, investors, quarterly earnings. Triple H and Stephanie? They're McMahons. Deep down, they're wrestling people. And that's becoming a problem." Mantel pointed to the massive changes happening behind the scenes. WWE's merger with UFC under the TKO Group banner, Nick Khan's growing influence in top-level business decisions, Vince McMahon's slow, controversial fade into the background amid scandal and pressure, a fresh, surgically precise focus on global expansion, licensing, and brand marketing rather than just wrestling. In that world, Mantell continued, having Triple H in creative makes sense for now. He's the best we got for storytelling. But eventually, investors don't care about storytelling. They care about content delivery systems, streaming rights, international deals, studio control. The McMahon family name could be seen as a liability, not an asset. While on television, Triple H appears confident, overseeing storylines that have revitalized Raw and SmackDown. Insiders say there's tension brewing behind the curtain. Some within the corporate hierarchy allegedly view Triple H and Stephanie as symbols of an old WWE culture, one tied to locker room traditions, wrestling terminology, and old-school booking ideas that don't necessarily align with today's ultra-modern, sanitized vision of sports entertainment. There are whispers that when Endeavor completed the TKO merger, they made a long-term plan not centered around Paul or Stephanie, but around executives with no wrestling background at all. Instead, business-first minds, entertainment brokers, and brand managers will shape the future. They're gonna turn WWE into Disney, Mantell said bluntly. Not a wrestling company that makes movies. A movie company that sometimes does wrestling. The veteran's theory boils down to this. Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are too wrestling. Their blood, their history, their style. It's all intertwined with the wrestling business in a way that doesn't cleanly fit the future TKO wants to sell to Wall Street. WWE is no longer trying to appeal to just wrestling fans. It's aiming for global media domination. And ironically, that might mean cutting away its very roots. Stephanie, who had already stepped away from her corporate role before the Endeavor merger, could find herself unofficially blackballed from returning to power. Triple H, despite his creative genius, might eventually be nudged out, replaced not with another wrestling mind, but with a content strategist who sees WWE shows not as episodic battles of good versus evil, but as content portfolios to monetize across streaming platforms and emerging markets. The risk? Losing the heart and soul that made WWE an empire in the first place. Unsurprisingly, the possibility of WWE severing ties with Triple H and Stephanie has sent fans into a frenzy. If Triple H leaves, so does the last real link to classic WWE. The guy literally lives wrestling. If suits take over completely, we're doomed. At Attitude Era forever. Stephanie and Hunter bled for WWE. If TKO throws them out, that's not business, that's betrayal. At Wrestling Real Talk, they can make all the movies and cartoons they want, but without a real wrestling heart, WWE will just be a hollow brand. At Ring Post Reality, others argue it's an inevitable evolution. WWE isn't a family company anymore. It's time to move on. Netflix, Amazon, Disney, that's the future. Not the McMahons. At Corporate Takeover. 1. Quiet exit. Triple H and Stephanie could bow out quietly over the next few years, citing new opportunities or family time, while the real reasons stay buried behind closed doors. 2. A public power struggle. If Paul Levesque resists the shift, it could ignite a full-blown battle behind the scenes. Rumors of creative disputes, strategic leaks to the press, and dramatic on-air shifts could signal something deeper. 3. Formation of a new promotion. The most sensational fantasy? Triple H and Stephanie, fed up with being sidelined, could pull a Cody Rhodes and launch their own wrestling brand. One focused on wrestling for wrestling fans. Imagine a gritty, story-driven alternative in a world dominated by corporate sports entertainment. 4. An unexpected redemption arc. Perhaps, just perhaps, TKO realizes they still need some authentic wrestling soul to keep fans connected. In this scenario, Triple H remains in a prominent creative role, but sheds his McMahon branding, repositioning himself as a pure content executive divorced from legacy loyalties. Whatever the future holds, one thing is clear. The world of WWE is changing faster than ever. And in the ruthless arena of corporate mergers and billion-dollar empires, even legends like Triple H and Stephanie McMahon are not immune. WWE may have been born from wrestling blood and McMahon dreams, but in the new world, business is king. And sometimes, even family has to be left behind. Would you like me to also write a fantasy farewell promo, imagining Triple H giving a final speech if this ever happened? It could be really emotional and powerful.